Guys, so in this episode of the Gx240 build, which is the third in fact, we are going to be welding the frame back together because we cut it in half in last episode, and then we cut a bunch, about 4 inches out of it, so we're going to be making it more narrow for the axle. And then we're also going to be moving the steering column from the side to the center. Hopefully we can get a little bit more done than that, but if we can't, I guess it'll just be in next episode, so let's get into it. Okay guys, so we just finished welding it up. We just tacked like a piece of pipe in there, and we tacked that in there, and then when we put it together, we put that pipe in the other pipe on the other side and welded it all up, left a little gap and welded it all up, just for extra strength, because if we would have just welded the two pipes together, it would be like putting really strong tape on the outside. It would be pretty easy for it to break if I hit a bunch of bumps and I was going off-roading and hitting hills and then jumping it, and I wouldn't do that, but I mean, it could be possible if I hit like a pothole on the road or something for those welds to break, especially if they get rusted really bad. So it could be really bad, and it could be a really dangerous situation, so we didn't want any of that to happen, so we welded these little plugs in on all of the pipes that we were welding, and then we tacked them in and then stuck it together and then welded that whole gap up. So rather than just welding the two pieces together, we're welding a pipe to each of them on the inside. That acts as kind of like a brace, and then we're welding the pipes together. And that'll be a lot stronger than just welding them together, so I feel a lot safer doing that, especially considering we're putting such a large motor on here. So that's what we're doing with that. We just finished welding it up, and then next we're going to be cutting the steering U thing that the steering wheel goes through, and then we're going to cut that off, and then we're also going to cut the steering rod out and then move that to the center and weld it back in. We've got to cut a new hole in the floor pan for the steering rod column to go through. So I guess that'll be next, and then hopefully in this episode, possibly in the next, we'll be getting the tie rods done. So yeah, so I guess we'll just get into it. Alright, so we got the steering column cut out along with the steering rod and the hanger for it. This piece, this is the hanger, it was welded right there, and the steering rod went up through there, up to the steering column. Now we're gonna have it right there. We've already started drilling a hole. We gotta make it bigger, and then we're gonna cut with the Sawzall, which is what we've been using to cut stuff down to here on each side, slot it out. So, yeah, it's all welded up. Got the top welded on the floor pan and the bottom. It's just, don't feel like flipping it over right now. We got all these welded up. They're not pretty, but they're strong. And then my plan is to cut these off and move them in right there at the edge. So it kind of acts as like a bucket to kind of hold you in so you don't slide back and forth and fall off. But yes, this is what it looks like. Now it's all welded up. Steering wheel is going to be about right there. And down there, we got all the pedals cut off. This is the gas pedal. This is going to be somewhere along the lines of being, over here on this very edge. So my goal is, rather than we were planning on extending it, but my goal is if I can have the pedals as far forwards as possible, we won't have to extend it because the steering wheel will be right about here. So I can just be like that. So I'm going to try and put the gas pedal kind of almost, I'm debating on almost putting it at an angle so it can go, or just having it right there where it can, this bumper support will kind of act like a, will act almost like a stop for it. So that's the plan. Anyway, so here's a better shot of what I was planning on having as far as the pedals. I was planning on just having it like right there on each side. This will be where the brake will be. So yeah, that's the plan. We just gotta cut that out so we can put the steering rod in, and then we can weld up the steering column, and then I guess it'd be pedal time, figuring that out and figuring out linkage all the way back to there. Then after that, we got to figure out the actual steering link connections, and then, like I was saying, I want to move that in kind of like a bucket to just kind of hold you in there so you're not sliding back and forth, falling out. And then axle bearings, and then after that, that's pretty much it as far as framework. And then we get the axle on and get the motor plate. That's another thing, we got to get the motor plate figured out. Once we have the motor plate figured out, then we can work on, we got to get a clutch, and then we're gonna have to get a new sprocket and brakes. I'm planning on just getting just a brake drum. I'm not too worried about getting a disc because the disc and caliper setup is going to be more expensive than just getting a brake drum and band. So yeah, just a drum, band, figure out the linkage, and then I'm planning on getting a fairly large sprocket because with these massive wheels and how high it's going to be more focused around off-roading and going in the grass, and I want to be able to have some torque and be able to drive. So yeah, that's the Go Kart as of now. This is what we got for the, after it's welded up.